Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Black Note Graffiti guitarist Kris Keller to the podcast. Black Note Graffiti released Resist the Divide on October 25th with Golden Robot Group. If you like bands like Helmet, Early Deftones, Wellhaven, and things of that nature, you'll definitely dig Black Note Graffiti. Kris talks about playing music with his brother, the road the two took to forming Black Note Graffiti, working with the producer that brings out the best in the band, what he hopes for the future, and more. Thanks much for listening to As the Story Grows. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome. Thanks for listening. You can find links in the show notes or over at asthestorygrows.com to our podcast community on Discord. You can sign up for our mailing list on Substack, or you can support the show financially and get early access to every episode on Patreon. If you aren't subscribed on your podcast platform of choice, I would love it if you subscribed. Things are starting to slow down next week. We have 3 podcast episodes coming to you this week, and then from Thanksgiving week forward, it'll be 2 episodes until the end of the year. Where Christmas and New Year's, there will be 1 episode a week. You can find out more over on Substack and the last issue of the As the Story Grows mailing list. Enjoy getting to know Kris from Black Note Graffiti. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a long day. My wife, she's traveling for work, so she left at. We woke up at 3:30 this morning.
Gotcha.
So it's been a long day.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're up in Ann Arbor still, or I don't know. Is that where you currently?
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. Is that where you're from originally?
Yes.
Yeah. What was growing up like?
Well, it's Michigan, so I don't know. Where are you at?
I'm in DC, but my mom is originally from Michigan, so I've really still up in Michigan in like Holland, like Saugatuck area.
Okay, yeah, I know the area well. That's cool.
Yeah.
Right on. So yeah, you know the deal. I mean, it's we get the seasons and the Great Lakes and all that stuff. So
yeah. Were you like an outdoor kid or no?
Yeah, I grew up outside and small farm kind of thing, and so you may not know, or you may know, my brother is in the band. He's the drummer and the bass player we grew up with. And so it's kind of the rhythm section in this group is played together since we were young.
Yeah.
In Michigan. Yeah. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. That's cool. What got you into music?
I guess that's a good question. It's been so long, but I guess when we were younger, some of our older friends were into music and showed us music, and we're like, wow, this is really cool. And so we kind of, from that, picked up instruments and started playing, and, it's like, oh yeah, I want to be the cool kid or whatever. But then it became more than that. It became, so, and all of a sudden we're like, okay, buying guitars and, taking lessons and this is when we were like, 8 or 9 years old.
Okay.
So, and it just evolved from there, and here we are. Yeah.
Was there a band or a scene or genre that made you want to grab guitar?
Well, I guess growing up, when we were younger, it's funny. one of my friend's brothers was a drummer, and he was like, check this drummer out, John Bonham. And I'm like, whatever, who's this, and even then, I mean, that was in the 70s, and in 20 years ago, looking back and seeing, hey, check out this musician like John Bonham. And it really it was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
And so that was like, I guess, one of the first memories of me, looking up to a musician that was still way before my time, which is crazy. It's weird, it's weird looking at it like that. Because now, I mean, if you asked a younger person, like, well, how did you get into music? You wouldn't say, oh yeah, I was like listening to Black Sabbath.
Right.
Yeah. So.
No, yeah. Now it's like Linkin Park, and that's like classic rock now.
Yeah, it's really weird. Yeah,
it is really weird.
Right.
Somebody said that the other day, and I was like, oh fuck, that's not right. Like,
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's all relative.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Are you the older brother?
I am.
Yeah. Did you pick up guitar and then you're like, all right, you have to play drums because we need guitar and drums?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say that I said you would have to play drums, but that's kind of how it worked out.
Yeah.
I started playing guitar, and then this other friend of mine was playing guitar too, and I'm like, one of us got to play bass. And so he's like, okay, I play bass. And then my younger brother, as you mentioned, picked up drums, and so we just started going. And we played this when we were really young. We played this festival that was sponsored by Gibson Guitar, and it was in this small town in Michigan, Adrian, Michigan, and it was sponsored by this music store called Aldrich's Music in Adrian, Michigan. And this is a long time ago. And Zakk Wylde was actually the headliner, and we played this Battle of the Bands. And the winner of the Battle of the Bands got to open for Zakk Wylde. So we won the Battle of the Bands, and we were just like, 12, 13 years old. Yeah, and so we got to actually open for Zakk Wylde. It was like when, how big he is now. But he was sponsored by Gibson, and so we got to play this festival. And he totally blew the sound system up.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and it was crazy. It was cool, though, that we got to play with him. Yeah. So that was an early memory of, music and how long we've been doing it. So it's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Did you and your brother kind of always have that same drive and passion for music, where you kind of always had this built-in band, I guess, right? Like no matter what members left, the two of you were always going in a single direction?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. When you're in the middle of it, it's hard to step out and look at it. So when you bring it up, I guess that's the way it's been. It's kind of like a therapy thing, to be able to play, especially with a family member. And Adam was the bass player, was somebody we grew up with, and he has been in the band too. So it's been like I don't know, that niche kind of family clique.
Yeah.
So I guess it's somewhat of that, and then along with the journey, we picked up other members, and we've become this band, Black Note Graffiti, and here we are now, and we've created this new record that's coming out this week, and it's the best record we've ever done. And it's pretty amazing. You go through all these different levels of being a musician, and luckily we've we've recorded in LA and New York and all these different places and recorded with all these really great producers. But this particular record that's coming out on this Friday, just the stars were aligned. The musicians were right. We got great songwriting. We got great producer. And so it's cool how it's all come together after all these years of working on this. And it's a fun thing. It's like serious, but not serious. But it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. The good thing about the music industry now, I've said this before, like you can kind of take it wherever you want to take it, and like your approach to it can be as serious and as big as you want it to be, or as like, low key as you need it to be, right? It can be the creative outlet.
Exactly.
Yeah. How did Gabby and Ricardo come into the fold?
So a friend of mine that was a musician that I knew in Ann Arbor was, we were looking for a guitar player, singer, songwriter, and a friend of mine, I worked at this coffee shop that was a musician. I was like, hey, we're looking for another member in the band. Do you know anybody that would be? Because I like this guy and he was a cool guy. And he's like, oh yeah, I got a buddy of mine, Ricardo. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I know it's just weird, like off the cuff.
Yeah.
And so I call this guy and he calls me like 2 weeks later or something. Like, he's like, hey, it's been a while. Sorry, it's taking me so long to get back to you. And I'm like, yeah, that's no problem, whatever. So we meet up, and I'm like, and it's kind of a strange situation because at least the writing style we were at that point is we were playing and writing everything in an open C tuning. So all of our tuning was open C, and I'm like, well, this is kind of strange, but do you think that, you could work with that as a songwriter and as a guitar player?
Yeah.
To not do the standard tuning? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. I was like, oh, sweet. So all the Black Note albums have been written and recorded in open C tuning.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a strange whatever. Maybe it's not strange, but for most people, I would think it's not the standard, like drop D and things like that.
Yeah.
Open C, and the way that we got to that point was, I had I love guitars. I have tons of guitars. It's like a thing that I've been into for a long time. I had an acoustic guitar sitting in the corner of where I have my guitars. And I didn't play it for months and months and months, and it detuned. It was in an open detuning. It detuned into open C. And I picked it up one day. I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So I started playing and writing and all this. And so all of a sudden we're writing an album with open C tuning.
Nice.
So it came to that. And then, so we do a record, then we start a second record. And then we're like, oh, it'd be cool to have a keyboard player or something like that. So then we met Gabby and brought her in. And so Gabby and Ricardo do like harmony, singing, and all this on top of this tuned down rock music, which is cool because it has this like kind of like a female and a male doing the harmony on top of like this low tuning style of rock music, which it changed the whole thing, which was for the better, it all worked out really great. So that's kind of how it evolved to where we're at now.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for the band name?
Well, there's lots of different stories about that, but I basically it's like the notes on a page being thrown onto it and being the graffiti of that. So that's pretty much how that came to be.
That's cool. That's awesome. This new record is really your first record since, I mean, lockdown and COVID. How much did having some extra time to sit around and write kind of inspire and change the direction and sound of the band?
That's a good question. I think that we took our time on writing this album, and I would say that it was a good thing. I think that it went down like that because we couldn't play out.
Yeah.
Everything was locked down. And so it overlapped on us being able to, okay, we have time to get together and work on this stuff, because it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of energy to have all the members put in, and that's what we did with this record. Everyone had, a great thing about this record is everyone had their input, the equal input on all the elements. Yeah. Bass, guitar, drums, vocals, everything, including the producer, Josh Schroeder, and he was awesome. And so that being said, coming out of that, writing off of COVID and then going into the studio, it was actually, it's like COVID was a bad thing. A lot of people died and all that, but there was a lot of good things that came out of it too. Yeah. And part of this record was some of that good. Yeah. Yeah. Album's called Resist the Divide. Where'd the title and kind of inspiration for the album come from? Well, it came from the lyrics of the first single, and it has to do with addiction and a lot of different things. But we're trying to do a positive message on it, and it's hard to explain it because I didn't write the lyrics. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Trent, from the outside looking in, I think that there was a lot of aspects in this album and the lyrics that were dealing with the struggles of addiction and things like that. So that's pretty much where the name came from. Gotcha. That's awesome. Who did the album artwork and came up with that concept? My brother Kurt, the drummer, does all our artwork. Really talented, and we're lucky to have him part of the band. And not only is he a great drummer, but he handles all the artwork and website and all that stuff, the back end of it, which is awesome. So yeah, he did all that, which is cool.
Album's out Friday. What's the future of the band look like? What are your hopes? Like, are you trying to tour, pitch this record to labels? Is it just like, this is your creative outlet and you're just happy to have it in the world and breathe and have people listen to it?
Well, we were lucky. We had a label pick this album up. Golden Robot is distributing this album, which is a LA Australian, New York-based label, and they've been really great. And so they're releasing it on Friday, and we're doing a show in Detroit on Friday too for the release. And we've got some festivals that we're going to do. We can't announce yet, but we're playing some festivals next year to promote it.
Nice.
And yeah, so that's what we got cooking.
Nice. Is it just like, the music industry has changed so much, and I know COVID, like, shows are tough. Is it just like, I don't know, I'm sure you're excited to have this record out, but is it just like try to do stuff on the visual side with this record to get it in front of people to keep it fresh at the moment? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I guess, like if Gabby was on, she'd say reels are the thing, everybody's doing
Sure, right.
gotta do reels, which I'm old school. Whatever. I don't know. I can't answer that, but
Right.
who knows? But yeah, we're just gonna push it, and it's gonna be good. So hopefully the music will speak for itself.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. It's a cool record.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we had a good time recording it. We recorded it in Michigan, in Midland, Michigan, with Josh Schroeder, who is a amazing producer, and he's produced some great bands. And the greatest thing about him was that he took each musician and he pushed every musician, but he didn't push us in the direction that he wanted. He pushed us in the direction that he knew that we wanted to go. So for an example, like with, at least for me, and he did this for everyone, but for me, he took like my guitar tones, what I wanted to do with guitar and what I played with guitar, and pushed that tones and sounds and all that, which came out on the record as far as who I am and what I want to sound like. So in a lot of other records we've done, or all the other records I've ever done, is the producer would be like, okay, this is what I envision you to sound like.
Yeah.
Where he was not like that at all. He wanted to know, what do you want to sound like, and what do you guys want to do, and who are you? So he was able to pull that out of the band and pull that out of each musician. So at the end, you've got each musician in the way we wanted to sound and the way that we do sound live on this record.
Yeah.
So it was pretty, to me, doing this for a long time, working with a lot of producers was pretty cool.
Yeah. You've spent the time writing the songs, working on the tone, the effects, how you want things to sound, and someone to be like, nope, we're doing it this way. It's like, well, that's not the vision. That's not how it's supposed to sound. And it, makes things tough.
Yeah. So he was taking exactly what you're talking about. He's taking that, but pushing it further. So he would be like, okay, this is your tone. Okay, we're gonna crank that.
Yeah.
Another level, but of who you are.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And and Josh was this guy, grew up in Canada, and he grew up playing, and he's a musician too. And what was cool about him was when you're in Canada, I mean, and you're growing up playing these indie bands and stuff like that, and you've got limited gear.
Yeah.
So whatever you have, you've got to use what you have and make it as best as you can.
Yeah.
So he takes that, and that's who he is, and takes that and puts that on other musicians, and pulls that out of them. And there's no other way that anyone could ever do that unless they lived that. And he did live that. And you know what I mean? Like, he experienced that. So, and he appreciates that. That's the main thing. So he understands it. And so working with him, and he was working with everyone in the band that way, in the end, you're tracking all these, and we played it live, and everything on this record is live. There's no, nothing fake on the record. Everything is completely genuinely recorded. So there's no overdub, fake tracks or anything like that. I mean, the entire album is what we created.